Hey folks, today we'll understand the any method of JavaScript promises. So let's get started. Okay, let me just show you an example, then I'll tell you the definition, and then I'll tell you how it's different from promise.race. Okay, so that's how our video will flow. So first write a promise and let's just reject this, just resolve this promise, and I'll say P1, I'll say P1 is resolved. Okay, then let's write another promise P2 and let's reject this one. I'll say promise dot reject and P2 is rejected. Now let's have a third promise and we'll resolve this, but we'll resolve it after some time. So we'll have to have a set timeout inside of it. That's why we have to write it like this, like a proper promise. So I'll do resolve and reject, and then here I'll do just, I don't even need these curly braces now because there is just a single statement of set timeout, and inside of here I'll resolve it, and I'll resolve it after, let's say, 3 seconds, and what I'll say P3 is resolved after some time. Okay, so here are 3 promises. Now let's apply the any method. I'll say promise.any, and here I'll pass all the promises. I'll say P1, P2, P3, and just see the result, and I'll add this then method. Here I'll do not much, I'll just console log the response that I'll be getting. So you guys could see that I'm getting P1 is resolved in the console. Okay, so what promise.any does is we pass an array of promises in this promise.any method, and whichever promise gets resolved first will get result from that promise. Let me reiterate, whichever promise gets resolved first, we get result from that promise. Now some of you guys might be confused that how it's different from promise.race. Okay, similar thing happened in promise.race with only a minor difference. In case of promise.race, we get the result from the promise whichever promise gets settled first. Doesn't matter whether it is resolved or rejected. The only thing that matters is in promise.race the promise must be settled first. Okay, but in the case of promise.any, the promise that we get in the result is the one which must be resolved first. So yeah, here you could see P1 is resolved first. Now if I write here, let's say P3, and I'll write P1 here, you can see I'm getting, let me just refresh it once. I'm getting P1 is resolved in the console. Okay, why is it so? Because P3 is getting resolved after 3 seconds, so it is taking some time. P2 is gets rejected, so we don't even count P2 because we only need the result from the promise that gets resolved first, and here P1 is the only one that gets resolved first. So we are getting P1 is resolved in the console. Okay, now, so yeah, you guys understood this, that whichever promise gets resolved first will get that result. Okay, so let's say even if this p1 is rejected, if this p1 is rejected, then what we'll get is, you guys know what we'll get p3 in the result. Okay, why is it so? Because see, we are getting p3 in the result because p2 and p1 are rejected, so it doesn't matter if this p3 gets resolved after 3 seconds or 30 seconds. Okay, now one doubt that you guys might have is, what happens if all the promises gets rejected? Yes, if all the promises that I am passing in the array gets rejected. So to clear your doubt, let's see what happens. Like, that's the beauty of programming. No, we can code out anything and see for ourselves what is happening. So yeah, rejected, p1 is rejected, see, all are rejected. Now okay, so I am getting an error saying all promises were rejected, and I am getting nothing in the console. It's the previous result. No, I am getting nothing in the console. See, I am getting nothing in the console. Now let me add a catch block and let's see, will I get anything after adding the catch block. So let me add a catch block and I'll just say error, and I'll just say console log error. Now there might be two things that could happen. Let's just see what will happen. No, so let's just see what is. See, we were getting aggregate error, all promises were rejected. So this error we don't have to pass. This is being provided by the any method only. For the scenario when all of the promises gets rejected, we'll get this thing in the console, all promises were rejected. Okay, so yeah, that's all about Promise.any. If you guys like this video, I'll really appreciate if you could subscribe to my channel. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we'll meet next time.